Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Belgium for the third round of the RCI Sylvia series. Today we're in Belgium at the scintillating chicane-ridden circuit Zolder. I'm Jack Mays, running solo in the commentary booth today, and I'm joined by our always lovely broadcaster, Ash Bibby. Ahead of us today, we have 1 hour of racing with what looks like 18 drivers all fighting for the top spot behind the wheel of their BMW M2 CS race cars. I hope you like loose rears, because that's what these cars are famous for. So sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for what will hopefully be an exciting race. We're already a reasonable bit into qualifying now, on board with our current championship leader, Andy Boardman, currently topping the times with a 140.7. I imagine those times will start to come down as cars, start putting in more laps, getting up to temperature. What I learned from last week was that these cars can be a little bit temperature sensitive, and there's what I think is going to be a bit of a common sight all throughout the race, is cars jumping quite far into the air into the turn 5 chicane. And I think we're going to remind ourselves, run through the championship standings as it's shaping up, coming into round 3. If I butcher any names, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. But Andy Boardman, as I already said, leads the championship with 144 points. He got a P1 in race 1 and race 2. Nico Kumpu is in second with 116 points. P2 in the first 2 rounds. Joe Dauber, he rounds out the podium positions with 106 points after a 3rd place in the first 2 races. Tom Shipston trails by 10 points in P4. He also finished P4 in the first 2 rounds. Strangely, the top 4 just kind of nailed their spots, sort of cementing where they're going to be, perhaps for the rest of the season. It's a little bit of a shakeup. Mike Redford rounds out the top 5 with 75 points in the championship. Tibet Roskam in 6th with 74. Peter Varga in 7th with 65. Hugo Duby in 8th with 57. Neil Pimlott in 9th with 52. Matt Malcolm with 44 points, rounds out the top 10. Richard Meerman is in P11. Ted Edwards, Les Stevenson, Dominic Wojtek, Kevin Boss, and Richard Whittle wrap up P16. And then Marco Ficuto, Mike Foxall, Jacob Marson, and Keith Whittle close out all of our point scores down to P20 in the championship. Now, I'm going to try and take us through a lap here with Richard Whittle as he's carrying his car through turn 1, getting a bit wide on the apex there, bouncing a bit over. Not sure if that's going to end up being track limits. Into turn 2, and then into the turn 3 complex, which I imagine in these cars especially, very difficult to stop the rear from stepping out. Into turn 4, another sort of 90 right. And now the longer run, going a bit wide again into the gravel. Loose rears, ladies and gentlemen, loose rears. Actually, it seems like he's backing off of his lap. We'll still stay on board. the long run from turn 4 to turn 5, I think this is going to be a big overtaking opportunity of the day. Just people braking as late as they dare, slamming over the chicanes, down the hill into turn 6, super quick. Imagine easily flatten these corners. Then we have the turn 7 chicane, which that braking zone, the little bit I've done of driving of Zolder, it can be a little bit tricky nailing that braking zone right and getting a good exit. Coming around turn 8. Now the run down here is certainly going to be another of the good overtaking opportunities into the hairpin at turn 9. We're hitting chicane number 3 at turn 10. Another long run. I think, hoping with the nature of close racing of go-karts, we're going to see a lot of overtaking today. Because here's another zone into the turn 11 chicane. Kiss one curb, kiss the other, and just take it as wide as you dare as you take the long run back towards the start finish. Obviously, Richard with me dove out of that lap pretty early on, so not going to see any improvement there. Hopefully, as the car goes straight on, decides, all right, we're good for now. Richard Whittle begins his lap, and I'm now spotting Nico Kumpu up in P2 by 1/10. Gotta say, these two have been reasonably close throughout the past 2 rounds as far as qualifying. Race pace is seen a little bit different. Andy Boardman is definitely been pretty quick and pretty hard to beat in these 2 rounds. Nico Kumpu up on his lap, though. As I take a sip of my beverage, willing him on to brake late and get on the power early, because he's now going through turn 11. And I think it's going to be pretty close. Let's see how we're looking. It is close, about a 500th improvement. 5,000th between the two. Let's see if Andy Boardman can improve on his lap. Or he might be on an outlap, just diving over curbs. I will be truly surprised if we don't see multiple cars spinning around over these chicanes in this. Yes, as Ash would be reminding me how he's going to replay every single one. So drivers, if you make a mistake today, sorry, we're gonna talk about it. Hopefully, I never wish for crashes. That's just, not very nice to think about. However, I think I want to see some crashes today. I really want to see a big incident into one of these chicanes. I don't want it to happen, but I want it to happen if you catch my drift. On board now with Peter Varga, getting ready to cross the line. See if that was any amount of improvement. Not sure, he may have just been starting a lap there, but Andy Boardman appears to have improved on that last lap. Now 3/10 to the good of Nico Kumpu. I say the top 7 only being spread by about a second. I mean, it's a tight field. It seems like, during the race, at least last week around Misano, there was quite a few battles that played out for many laps, for good of half the race, and hoping that maybe some of that will happen today. I mean, Cup racing is some of the favorite racing I ever get to see, just because equal machinery. I mean, setups definitely differing. I imagine setups, especially around Zolder, just because, how do you set the car up so it is at its best when it's potentially mid-air? I mean, I don't know how to set up an airplane for a racetrack, but I feel like there was a little bit of that during race prep here for a lot of these drivers. As now we see Mike Foxhall just improved a couple of spots up to P8. Good lap from him. And I hope you guys like awkward silences, because there's going to be a few of those. Because full transparency, I haven't led a commentary crew yet with RCI or with anything, and lo and behold, today's my day. And not only that, I'll be doing it on my own, and I'm excited because and this is a direct quote, Ash Bibby didn't want to, which I don't mind at all. I told him pre-race. I said, listen, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. That's fine. I prepped as well as I could this morning when I got the word from our Lord Jesse Lee saying, all right, man, today's your day. But I mean, as always, happy to be here. Happy to watch cars racing around. I think Mr. Stevenson might be finishing up his qualifying unless he sort of jumps out of the pits right now, but it seems like those tires won't get fired up in time to do a good lap. So P3 might be his best, which, to be honest, is a pretty good start if I remember correctly. Which, to be honest, my memory's not the best, especially of qualifying positions from last week. But I'm fairly certain that Wes Stevenson was not up there. In fact, let me take a quick peek here. That's correct. Yeah, Wes Stevenson actually was one of our DNFs in the last race, so I imagine he's looking to capitalize on that. But hopefully, we'll end up being able to qualify position and do well in the race. That's right. Ash just reminded me there was some penalties that got handed out, and I believe that it was something that maybe he didn't exactly want to have to deal with in the race. I just realized also, apologies. I've been saying Wes Stevenson. I've been combining Will and Les Stevenson. It's actually Will Stevenson. Apologies. I'll get there. I'm sure. I've got a little over an hour to get my stuff together. But anyways, we're on board Neil Pimlott. Getting ready, going around the hairpin, getting ready for chicane, which this is hardly a chicane, let's be honest here. Just entirely flat through, heading down on the run to not P11, turn 11. Man, I'm really not sure if I'm going to get better or worse throughout this session, but regardless, I'm in for the long haul, and there's certainly no backing out. We'll see if Mr. Pimlott does improve just a little bit, about 0.3, goes up from P9 to P8. Pretty solid lap. I mean, honestly, starting anywhere midfield can be a little daunting, especially with how race starts tend to go in Cup cars. Everything is going to end up being super tight, and staying out of incidents, reacting to incidents when you're in the midst of the field like that can be a bit tricky. We're on board with Andy Boardman now, as Nico Kumpo, I just realized, 227 thousandths to the good, and that's, I'm kind of hoping that we have a little bit of a nail biter here for who's going to end up on pole, unless of course Andy Boardman just puts in a mega lap, which isn't exactly the most surprising thing to see as he's going through turn 11, squeezing on the power. I imagine actually not using as much of that exit curve as I was expecting. That's probably better in these cars. You're less likely for it to step out, taking the shortest line possible. That's a good lap. I mean, that was a tenth and a half, a little bit more. We'll see how Nico Kumpu can respond coming down the hill. Actually, having just not just started their lap. I'm already getting lost on Zolder around here. I'm completely lost. I'm going to be honest. Don't even know where he is on circuit, but I hope he's lighting up the times. I believe now coming to turn 9. What is turn 9? Getting ready for turn 10, which is just kind of, I don't know, straighten your car out and don't drive off the circuit. Hardly a corner. Long straight. Maybe catching a little bit of a draft from the car ahead. That possibly could be happening. Definitely to Nico's delight there as he exits turn number 11, the final corner, using as much road as he dares. Getting ready to cross the line. It's no improvement. 0.2 behind Andy Boardman. Still, I mean, it's a great starting position. As I think T-Bit Rosscam is going to be our final lap giverer. Oh, getting a little bit loose on the exit. Maybe lost a little bit of time there. Oh, yep, just doing just a tad bit of showboating, knowing that maybe the lap is over, but that's all good. And that will be our qualifying session as Andy Boardman leads the pack yet again. 3 races in a row. Actually, sorry, not 3 races in a row. Round 1 started in P2, but leading the pack, Nico Kumpu, P2, Will Stevenson, P3, Tom Shipston, P4, Les Stevenson, P5, Ross Camp 6th, Redford 7th, Pimlott 8th, Foxhole 9, Matt Malcolm rounds out the top 10, Hugo Doobie, P11, Peter Varga, P12, Faquito, P13, Richard Whittle, P14, Merriman, P15, and Keith Whittle, P16. And our final 2 being Wojtek and Joe Dauber, which I think Joe Dauber is going to be doing another last to first, or at least an attempt for last to first, which I got to say was an absolute delight last week. Hoping for, a little bit of showing from Mr. Dauber. But I am getting pretty excited now. Watching those cars in qualifying, watch them in practice as well. A lot of sort of looser exits, a lot of honestly big air over the chicanes should hopefully lead to a bit of excitement as Matt Malcolm has now joined us in the box for a little bit of a pre-race interview. Mr. Matt Malcolm, how you feeling, buddy? How you doing? Please feed me some words.
The words I gotta give you is not great. I mean, coming back from P3 in Misano, then going to P10 here, not a good start. I'm gonna admit, I'm afraid, but the points are all dealt out on the main race itself. So we'll see what's gonna happen within the next 4 minutes once you all keep going on towards the grid.
Well, I hope to see you sort of scythe your way through the field. It will be exciting for us in the box. But strategy-wise, race start, are you going to take it easy? Or are you going to really go for some early moves, or kind of maybe plan for some mistakes around you and just avoid them?
So you're aware of the great Colin McRae's quote, "If in doubt, floor it."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what lap one's going to be. Just floor it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, as I said a few minutes ago, I'd never hope for a big incident, but it'd be fun to watch. I don't hope you're among it, but maybe you'll do well because of it. You'll gain a couple positions, maybe get a front row seat to what happens ahead of you.
Yeah, well, me's already saying that is probably already making Phil Roberts, our chief steward, sweating already. So, so obviously, I'll keep it clean, keep it tight. It's all you want to do for a round like this. I mean, it's very tight, very nimble. So, even with these slower cars with lower downforce, you still have to be careful because incidents happen up and down the grid. So. But again, yeah, and we'll see in a couple minutes' time as to exactly what's going to happen with it. But you got any sort of predictions yourself, Jack? Before I head off.
I think biggest prediction. I predict that we're gonna lose maybe a handful of cars temporarily. I think we're gonna have some spins on corner exit. Those cars look like they can get pretty loose on the exits of those chicanes and also get airborne over them. So hopefully everyone lands smooth, but I imagine the field spread from back to front is probably going to end up being pretty large. But as far as who's going to win this thing, I mean, Andy Boardman, I feel like, is a safe bet. But I don't know, maybe a Matt Malcolm P1 might. It just sounds good to me, honestly. I don't know how that sounds to you. How you feel about that?
Hold on. I can actually check when I last won it. For years. It's been years since I've been on top of the podium myself. I've had a few podiums here and there, but other than that, it's gonna be a quite difficult one. But we'll see what comes from there.
Well, thanks for joining me in the box. Best of luck today. Be fast. That's all I got for you.
No, it's not being fast. It's being consistent. That's the goal.
No. That's boring. Just put your foot to the ground. Beat everybody else.
Okay. If the listeners, if you're watching today, just be mindful that it is RCI Jack that has recommended me to go on the floor no matter what.
I did say that. I'm not taking it back. It's too late to take it back now.
It's far too late. But Jack, have yourself a good time up on the booth.
Likewise, same to you, my friend. Enjoy it out
Bye-bye.
there. Now that he's gone, I didn't mean what I said. I do not hope that he full throttles it into the rear of another car.
Thirty
I
seconds.
only, I kind of hope someone does it, but I don't want it to be Malk, just because then I'd feel responsible. I feel like that's
20
not
seconds.
only a commentator's curse. That's just me. I don't know. Is that like a race fix kind of deal? Would I be under
10
investigation? I
seconds.
don't know. Hopefully, I don't have to deal with any of that. I'm not trying to make waves here. Just trying to have fun. Just trying to enjoy myself as the lights are going to go out for the formation lap. It's looking a little gray, a little dark, as almost every car goes ahead and flicks its headlights on. Hiko Kumpu taking a moment to get away from the line, maybe flicking a couple switches, making sure completely set before the race. But I'm just fingers crossed we're in for a flyer today. It's Joe Dauber, last to leave his starting box. Again, big movers to look for early part of the race. Matt Malcolm just heard from him. He wasn't feeling too great in qualifying, but I mean, if last week when at Mazzano was anything to say, that's a pretty quick car, one to look out for. Joe Dauber, 100%. I mean, he did this last week. He ended up finishing P3. Maybe he's looking for one extra. There was I think a couple incidents, if I remember, that maybe slowed him down a bit. Maybe strategy can get him into one step higher. Or maybe he might get stuck in a little bit of traffic and things might be a little bit more difficult for him. As Mike Redford is currently in the pits, hopefully that's not a pre-race DNF. Hopefully that's a car that gets moving again. Not 100% sure how ACC works as far as returning to pit stop during the formation lap. Ash, thank you for answering my question. You just end up with a pit lane start. Hopefully that's what that's going to end up being. We'll see. Taking a look at the chat now. I wasn't doing it during qualifying, and Joe Dauber and Mike Redford actually answering some of my questions about car setups. And Joe Dauber, he has a nonsensical minimum ride height, no wing, so that is that's ferocious. That is very impressive. So mid-air traction setup, looking great. As the cars now are winding back through to turn 9, and then through turn 10. This is where they're going to begin to line up. This is where a little bit of tire prep that maybe you could have been doing all sort of ends as you line up and begin the slow crawl to the start finish, anticipating the green light, knowing that it's time to make your choice. Are we going to make some moves in the first lap? Are we going to take it easy? Are we going to take it safe? I mean, I know my eyes are peeled for who we're on board with right now. Matt Malcolm for maybe a big start, maybe a bit of pace. We're getting ready now for the green flag to wave. I believe there we are. Green flag has been waved. All lights are green. Solid start from Andy Boardman, Nico Kumpu. Definitely taking it a bit easy into the braking zone. I think all these cars just hoping to complete these couple of turns safely, cleanly before making any moves. But Andy Boardman, I mean, pushing a little bit wide, actually opening the door for Nico Kumpu. They are gonna go too wide. If Nico Kumpu could stay there, he might be in with a shout for the braking zone of turn 5. Still too wide. I think it might just be a little bit of a drag race. Stevenson behind, also looking maybe a little bit hungry. Boardman goes defensive, a little bit of a door bang on the entry. Let's see how this looks here. Nico Kumpu hopefully staying ahead. Was going too wide with Will Stevenson. Nico Kumpu staying there. We do have a car backwards on the circuit. That is the number 42 of... Actually, I'm not 100% sure because... All right, we'll see now. Race replay. Yep, that little bit of door bang. Nothing too crazy there. Actually, well held on the inside. I think now, let's see. Oh, yep, that would be a car going around. I don't know what that was. That was the 42 of somebody. I'm gonna be honest. I will end up getting that answer for you. Sorry, not 100% sure which cars are which yet. That would be Foxhole. That's Mike's Foxhole, who actually had a pretty solid qualifying session, from what I could tell. A bit an incident like that. I mean, two cars racing ahead. A bit of not a whole lot you can do. Maybe he looked like a bit of a self spin, a bit of a tap, and now we have two cars already hitting the box. I'm wondering if it's from damage, which I wouldn't entirely believe because it looks pretty clean. I wonder if they're just going ahead and doing their pit stop, because the interesting thing about the Sylvia series, the way it's set up, is you do have to do a pit stop for fuel. It can be at any point in the race. You know, it can be first lap, or, well, obviously it can't be last lap. It has to be done just before then. So perhaps a couple cars electing to go ahead and get that done. We see Peter Varga being accosted by Matt Malcolm, him sticking his nose out. You know, it's always a good idea. Get in the car ahead of you's mirrors. I mean, it might force them offline. It might make them think about the car behind rather than the corners ahead. But Matt Malcolm already a pretty solid start, up from P9 to P7, a good thing. And now Mike Redford actually ending up just behind the pack. Glad to see that he actually ended up making it on track. I think, you know, it being a pit lane, it was a bit slow. As Joe Dauber, is that dives for the inside? Oh, a little bit of bang on the exit. Good move. That was committed. I think, you know, I'm not sure if Cash, you're right. I'm sorry. We'll get there. Definitely seeing a bit of a spicy few opening laps, as it seems like the front pack has sort of walked away. Nico Kumpu only being really the one to stay within Andy Boardman at the moment. But yeah, Matt Malcolm probably a little bit frustrated, getting stuck behind Peter Varga and opening him up to that move. I think we might see a little bit of a wiggle on exit. I was thinking we almost might have lined up to be 3 wide, as now we see Joe Dauber just sort of hanging around the outside of Peter Varga. Peter Varga getting a pretty poor exit. Might be under. He might get a little. He goes defensive now. I think that was Matt Malcolm just losing another position there. Super unlucky for him, but Joe Dauber just walking away from an incident clean, wiping his hands. He's like, all right, cool, done. P6 now. Let's go hunt down a couple more cars. It's Hugo Doobie looking a bit under pressure, but it is often a very good thing that you see two cars behind you fighting. So, you know, hey, they might slow themselves down. Give me a little bit. That was the cars of Richard Whittle and Faquito, and I think Whittle ended up actually getting through mid-chicane. Just realized I'm saying I think a lot. I don't think. I know. I see what's happening. Got to be a little bit more confident here. But it seems like, I mean, no big shunts so far here. It's been, there was the little bump into turn 5 on lap 1, but I mean, that's about it so far. We got a big, you know, stacked midfield pack of all close running. I think that's being led by Joe Dauber, but he seems to be stretching his legs. So really, it's the lineup behind Peter Varga and the front two, Andy Borman and Nico Kumpu. Truly just being like, all right, cool. See you guys later. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing done. But there's another pack of led by Will Stevenson, with Shipston and Roscam all within sort of a second of each other. I think they may just be running line astern, thinking, all right, at this point in the race, maybe we'll tow each other around. It seemed like we were seeing a bit of that at Mazzano, where there was a midfield group of cars just towing each other around the circuit, and then I think a couple mistakes were made, and things ended up getting very spicy. Maybe perhaps I think Tiba Roscam has possibly the most to gain from his position. Doesn't have to worry about threat from behind, but if a mistake is made by one or both of the cars ahead, might be there to pounce. He's getting close to the rear of Tom Shipston there, but I don't think that the tow from these cars, especially when they're lined up as they are, it doesn't seem as strong as perhaps I was expecting. I do think though the tip from Joe Dauber talking about how he's running no wing. I have a feeling, based on the nature of this circuit, there's a big lack of wing, so there's not really a lot of extra drag these cars are being helped with. Roscam just got a little bit wide on the exit there. Shipston electing maybe to go around the outside. Actually, nope, lining up to be a bit of a switchback on Will Stevenson. Will Stevenson getting pushed wide. This is can be really bad for Will Stevenson, but he gets tapped on the rear. Maybe isn't entirely expecting Roscam to be there, but clean move from Stevenson. The impressive thing is they managed to sort of shuffle the order, but not really lose too much time between the three of them. It's, I think maybe Shipston now hoping to stretch his legs. Seems like he is doing just a tad, but a little bit of a shuffle. Shipston now sitting up on the podium, and it's still T-Bot Roscam looking tidy, coming out of chicanes. Getting a little bit closer and closer and closer. I think Joe Dauber now, he's sort of appearing in the back of shot and is closing massively and is thinking, all right, if these guys just keep fighting it out a little bit more, I'm going to be here right now. So I think this three-way fight is about to turn into a four-way. I do think it's just heating up. Joe Dauber is quick. We've seen that already. I think we're going to keep seeing it for the next 50 minutes. Looking back behind, and Peter Varga, quite impressively, is still managing to tow that line of cars. I don't think there's been a ton of movement. I think actually Hugo Duby maybe made up a position. Actually, no, we saw that previously. He made that position on Matt Malcolm. And we're getting word from the one of our stewards that there are no penalties yet, but there were obviously a couple of incidents. We spotted a good chunk of those, just a little bit of door banging. I think that one spin we saw is just simply a racing incident, which I, from seeing it for about 2 seconds, would assume the same. Hugo Duby looking for a clean exit, coming out of, I believe that would be turn 8. It's coming down to turn up. Sorry, that's not turn 8. That's coming out of turn 9 and 10. Through now. Coming back up the hill. Actually, I don't think that was turn 9. One of these days I'll get this figured out. That was turn 6 into turn 7, down the hill between turn 8 and 9. I believe, yep, now see that's the exit of turn 5. One of these days. And by one of these days I'll mean give me about 7 minutes. I think I'll have this circuit down. I could be using the track map up to my right, but I think I'm doing okay. Ash, am I doing okay? It doesn't matter what he said. I wasn't going to listen to it anyways. He said that I'm actually the greatest commentator he's ever heard, the most natural talent that RCI has. And you know what, Ash? I really appreciate that. Jokes aside, he said I was doing great.
That's not what I said.
He didn't say. He said I was doing fantabulous. Is what he actually said. Sorry, I apologize. Phantasmagorical is the word. Whether that's actually in a dictionary, I would need to see to believe. As Joe Dauber getting up back against that. Actually, it did go from a 3-way fight to a 2-way fight. Now back to a 3-way. So I had a feeling that Stevenson was going to stretch his legs a bit out in front of this crew. But we'll see now. Joe Dauber having the pace so far is now I'm getting word from Google's AI overview that phantasmagorical is in fact a word. It's a synonym for the same word spelled with a PH. It is meaning different, strange, and dreamlike. I would agree that I am doing different and strange. So I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it there, Mr. Bibby. As now we're seeing Joe Dauber diving up to the inside of two at Roscam, but I don't think quite getting the exit that he wanted to, taking that more narrow line. Now electing to try to sort of stick his car in the mirrors, force Roscam into a bit of a mistake, but nothing doing so far. Roscam electing to actually not defend, but just to take his racing line. I think he's thinking to himself, Dauber's quick. I'm only going to lose myself time at this point if I choose to fight this. And at the end of the day, they are teammates. They are both driving rebound racing. And rule number 1, don't hit your teammate, as it does tend to happen quite a bit. But Roscam knowing, hey, this is maybe the quicker out of the two of us. As now we see a bit of a that was a bit strange. That was someone turning left into a right-handed corner. Not exactly sure what that was. Marco Fuquito now is going a bit slowly and just falling down the order. Mike Foxhole electing to take advantage. All the cars behind really seeming to take advantage. That was a bit of a strange one to jump into. I think maybe these cars might have a bit of damage, as we're seeing pairs of two wide cars. Mike Redford just probably doing a bit of closing his eyes and just being like, I'm just going to drive the circuit and hope that I don't die, which is it's a good strategy. I actually do it constantly. It tends to do me pretty well. But that was definitely a bit of an interesting incident, as we're seeing that I believe that's Keith Whittle just falling down. It's seeming like, wondering if these are big mistakes for them to be making, and I'm wondering if there might have been a bit of damage from that amount of door banging. I don't know. I'm not sure how sensitive these cars are to damage, and steering looks to be intact. I think we're straight. I think maybe Keith is just a bit rattled, which can happen, and sometimes it takes you a couple corners to get stuck back into what you're supposed to be doing. But I think Ash, you're right. I think now is as any good of a time to bring out my word of the day. I said during the pre-race is chicanery. This is the chicane central, and everything that goes on in this race is deemed chicanery, including whatever happened previous, whatever's happening now, and what we still have to see for the next 45, which I gotta say, quite amazed. Usually I'm actually looking at the race clock, but I'm not doing that today, and it's been a busy 15 minutes. I thought we were at least halfway into the race, but for good news for me, because it means I get to watch more cars drive in circle. Bad news for everybody that thinks I'm doing a bad job, because you have another 45 of me doing this, as Joe Dauber continuing to just push and push and push and push as he's trying to hang it around the outside of Will Stevenson. Will Stevenson doing a good job so far in this race. I mean, not really sure what their pace was going to look like, but it was a good qualifying effort for sure. Taking a little bit of a wide entry into into turn 11. Excuse me. Joe Dauber just kind of, I imagine, having a great time there, doing a bit of weaving. Fortunately, it's his teammate behind, so I'm sure there won't be too much of a fuss. However, I don't know, that could potentially draw a bit of a warning from the steward's office. Not entirely sure how they handle random acts like that, but definitely making Will Stevenson, hey, look in your mirrors. I'm back here, and I'm not going anywhere. I wonder if Roscam's... I imagine the two are probably talking to each other right now, and I wonder if Roscam's maybe like, hey, can we get this done? I mean, I'm kind of sitting back here waiting for you to to get past this guy. Will Stevenson putting up a fight worthy of someone who's currently racing in P4. And still looking ahead, we have Andy Boardman still leading. Nico Kupu holding in 2.5 seconds behind. Actually, 2.3 seconds. That delta just dropped a bit, but those two are they are far and away ahead of the group that we're currently on board with. Tom Shipston 9 seconds behind those two, and a further 3 here as Joe Dauber goes for a late break, trying to hang that around the outside of turn 9. That would have been incredible if he pulled that off, but I think just going wide and onto the marbles there, which ended up really costing him more time than anything else. I think Dauber behind the wheel now is getting a bit impatient. If I'm honest, it is very hard to, when you're behind the wheel of a car, you know, hey, I'm faster than this guy, but that doesn't mean that you can overtake him. There's a certain delta that comes with driving where it's like, hey, you may be, 0.3 a lap faster, but you have to be a second lap faster to actually overtake somebody. That's mentioned a lot in the world of Formula One, especially. Dauber just, I think he needs to string, I think it might need to be a good lap together, really, to set up a move on Stevenson here. Stevenson still doing an incredible job of not necessarily defending, but just driving without mistakes. And when Dauber goes for, a dive, as I think we might actually see one here, Will Stevenson puts his car straight in the middle of the road, which is, you're allowed to do that. That is, you are allowed to take your line as the leading car, and that is just brilliant because it sort of makes him second guess what line he should be taking. He was thinking about the inside, didn't have room, and didn't really have time to go as he's trying to now go around the outside. Down into turn 9. Yet again, not quite there, but significantly closer than he was last time round. I think, sort of sticking outside saying, I think that's a bit of a punt of Will Stevenson as now we get a race replay. There certainly was a little bit of overlap, but that was, I think just got his braking point just a bit wrong. There wasn't any overlap. Will Stevenson just kind of got spun. Now, I'm not a steward, but I have a feeling, I know for a fact our stewards are taking a look at that. I have a strong suspicion that that's going to end up a penalty, and not the kind of thing that you want to see from another driver. But fortunately, though, Joe Dauber doing the right thing, handing the position back immediately. However, Roskam, because, ultimately, he wasn't involved in the incident. He was just kind of there. He said, all right, cool, thanks, chaps, and carry on all the way onto a podium position, which is pretty impressive. But I think the Dauber Stevenson, let's call it a rivalry, just to make it sound more dramatic, is gonna continue for a little while. And looking further down the timing sheets, there's definitely a couple of battles going on. I see Matt Malcolm actually ended up getting through Peter Varga. That must have happened fairly recently. That gap's still pretty close, as we see Dauber, same thing again, doing a bit of a weave. Maybe not 100% sure what the tactic is there. That's a new one for me to see. It's sort of getting in your rivals' mirrors, but to an extreme. I think it's more of, instead of, you have a bit of a run, a bit of a better exit, it's instead of lifting to maybe lose momentum, you maintain that momentum, but still sort of make the circuit longer for you in order to stay line astern. Now, word from the steward box: penalties incoming. We will see how many occur. I mean, I think we're about to see 2 penalties being handed out, at least. I'd see one for Mr. Dauber and then one for, oh, actually a 5-second for Hugo Doobie. Not 100% sure. I don't know if he was one of the ones involved with the maybe turning left instead of turning right, taking another driver off circuit. That might have actually been Meerman, who has now been handed a 5-second. I'm sure we'll get word about both of those. And I'm now going to, as Mr. Bibby gives me exactly what I need to know, which is to take a look at the live penalties section of the Discord channel and take a look. We got, so the incident for Mr. Hugo Doobie was a 5-second penalty for just overtaking with contact. I'm not sure if we saw that overtake happen, but I imagine it was just a door bang or maybe, hopefully not, possibly spinning another car, not a clean overtake. It's not something you're allowed to do. I mean, rubbing is racing, but there is a limit, which is what we have the stewards here for. We have the incident for Mr. Meerman, the 5-second. That was forcing a car off circuit, which is what we saw briefly on the broadcast just a little bit ago. It turns out that was, in fact, what we thought it was, which was possibly not intentionally, certainly, hopefully not intentionally, but turning left instead of turning right. And then the 10-second penalty for Peter Varga for avoidable contact on lap number 9. That was another one that we perhaps didn't see. I wonder who the receiving end of that would have been. The not the 508 car. It would have been Hugo Doobie, the 721. Was the car involved with that? As we get race replay of that incident. Let's see, Varga go. Oh, yeah. That's definitely going to be a bit of front end damage for Hugo Doobie. Yeah, a little bit of left, right. Not 100% sure where Varga wanted to take that line. And in the moments, I mean, if you're turning right and left, you're not braking in a straight line. Your braking performance is going to be hampered pretty significantly. And by that, I mean, wasn't really left with much place to go. As you can see, the amount of damage for Hugo Doobie's car. Just, I'm sure it's a bit knackered. A bit, as we're seeing now, we got more penalties rolling in. Another 10-second for, that would have been Joe Dauber. We've seen that incident, as I've just now realized. I've completely missed while reading on incidents. Joe Dauber is now ahead of Will Stevenson. I mean, that move, it was an inevitability, regardless of how well, Stevenson could do, as the replays given the end of the fight rather than the peak of it. That's all good, but I mean, that it was definitely an inevitability. Will Stevenson, the excellent defending that was done. I mean, Joe Dauber does have buckets and buckets of pace, and that's what we ended up seeing. As now we're seeing a battle between Foxhall and Malcolm, the 42 and the 199. Sorry, not the 199, the 957. Seeing now we're rushing down towards that should be turn 11. Seeming like a bit of a favorable corner for overtakes, but perhaps not as favorable as I was expecting. Pre-racing, based on what I was seeing during qualifying. Granted, the entry speeds of these cars are slow already, and it's a slow chicane, so it's tough to really do a send at already low speeds. So now we're gonna stay on board with this fight for a little bit. It seems like Richard Whittle is stretching his legs a little bit, maybe keeping the lines a little bit cleaner than Foxhall behind. Is now going back. They already have come back down the hill, already back at turn 11, which seemed like that was 2 seconds ago, which entirely means that I might have had the wrong corner. That was probably turn 5. Apologies for that. But those We have had a couple of stops already. Just recently, I think it was Peter Varga and I'm going to assume Mr. Mike Redford going ahead and electing to take their pit stops. That's now 4 out of 17 now. Another thing that was missed entirely, we lost a race car. I can't say for sure who's gone just yet. I'm sure I'll have that answer at some point. May notice it myself, but I think perhaps was it? No, I was thinking maybe it might have been. Not sure. Hopefully, maybe just a hardware error. Maybe just a bad race turned worse, and whoever that was, they decided that that was enough for them. As we are actually now closing in on half race distance. It's sort of been a mixture of flying by and standing still, but it's certainly been an interesting race. I am pleased. It's avoided the thing I fear most, which is long, entirely insane tangents. Fortunately, I've been able to keep it about race cars and not about whatever I was going to talk about. Ash Bibby asking to reignite the Mayo conversation, which is a probably the most, at least for me, the most famous commentator story we've had. It would kind of be tough for it to be a conversation. It would just be me talking about mayonnaise, which I don't know if we need, but Ash spurring me on, asking me my favorite kind of mayonnaise. I don't think I have a favorite. I guess I would say Duke's mayo, which is one of my family members. She absolutely loves it, so by nature it's just sort of the one I go out and buy whenever I need mayo, because it's like, oh, that one's clearly good because someone I know likes it. So, but it must not have been a controversial opinion, because Mr. Bibby's just saying okay. So apparently it's a top 5 mayo. So Duke's Enjoyers rejoice. That was a tough one to get out. Of now we're going to take a look at the top 5 mayos according to Google. But before I say that, I will recognize Andy Boardman still leading the race, stretching his legs just a little bit. Nico Kumpu actually staying with him to a much stronger degree than we saw last week. 3.2 seconds after almost half race distance. I think, pit stops may determine if this race gets any closer. Wondering who took more fuel, who took less. I imagine Kumpu hoping that Boardman actually took less fuel and is sort of driving quickly now, and then Kumpu will have sort of a lighter load, maybe a shorter pit stop, or vice versa. Anyways, top 5 mayonnaises to consider according to Google.com. Coming in at number 1, I feel like I'm suddenly doing, instead of a commentary voice, like a TV announcer voice. Coming in at number 1, Hellmann's Best Foods, a classic and popular choice known for its smooth, creamy texture and authentic taste that is a staple for many. Kewpie, this Japanese-style mayonnaise. Sorry, coming in at number 2, Kewpie. Actually, I'm going to commentate on the racing that's happening in front of us. Sorry, Ash, you're going to have to wait for more mayo to happen. As we're seeing the Roker Poker himself, Mr. Les Stevenson, just sort of make a dive, make a run, get around Meerman there. That was a good tidy move from him, I think. Stevenson. Sorry, that wasn't Meerman. That was the card, the 20 car of Fakuto. Or Fakuto? I don't know. That's the one that I'm the least confident in. Your name, Marco. If you're listening to this, if you hear this at any point, I'm so sorry. Just remember, I am a stupid American, and I do not know how to say your fancy European words. But yeah, really actually strong around the outside move from Les Stevenson. Seems like a couple of cars are finding a bit more grip and a bit more confidence around these wider sections, especially in Sector 1. Anyways, back to mayonnaise, the thing that we are all actually here for. Coming in at number 2, Q-Pie. This Japanese-style mayonnaise is rich, umami-packed, and uses only egg yolks and rice vinegar, giving it a unique flavor profile. And actually, Duke's coming in at number 3. Sorry, coming in at number 3, Duke's, a beloved Southern brand. Duke's is known for its exceptionally smooth, creamy, and tangy flavor. So, big ups to the Dukes and Joys. We're actually in P3, guys. We are on the podium, according to Google.com. Coming in at number 4, Sir Kensington's, an artisanal brand that offers a distinct flavor with organic ingredients appealing to those seeking a premium option. I didn't know that there was premium mayo. I just kind of thought it was mayo. But hey, maybe I need to give Sir Kensington's a try. And coming in at number 5, Kraft. A widely available and creamy option, often considered a solid no-frills choice for a classic mayonnaise taste. Thank you for joining us today on the Mayo broadcast. Next week, ketchup. All right, Ash, we're doing ketchup next week. If I will say, if I'm on lead comms duty, if I don't get fired and banned from being here, and I am on lead comms duty till next week, and it's not, and if there's a dull moment, we'll do top 5 ketchups as well. I'm gonna take a quick moment to just chug down some water because that mayo that took a lot out of me. Anyways, back to racing. We've just sort of crossed over. We've just crossed over half distance for the Sylvia series. I think good race so far, I gotta say. Unfortunately, I mean, hey, knock on wood or don't, there hasn't been a big incident yet, so it's actually been pretty clean. Only a handful of penalties so far, more or less just sort of over-opportunistic overtakes and outbreaking oneself rather than Zolder being Zolder. Jack Scotty in chat just dropped. What have I just joined to? Well, Jack, from one Jack to another, welcome to the Mayo cast. I was told to reignite the great Mayo conversation of multiple years ago where there was a 45-minute conversation about mayonnaise on one of these broadcasts. But I promise, the racing that's happening in the background is actually what's important here. No Mayo talk just yet. But what I am going to talk about right now is we're going to talk about our partners, which you've probably been seeing rolling around on the bottom of the left throughout the broadcast. We're going to start with Ready, Set, Sim. Build the sim rig of your dreams or your budget in seconds with the RSS Sim Rig Builder. That will be in the link below if you're interested. Coach Dave Delta. Coach Dave can help you climb the sim racing ladder with helps from their apps, setups, coaching, and more for all your favorite sim titles. Find out more by visiting Coach Dave via the link in the description. Green Man Gaming, score huge savings on PC games, including new releases with Green Man Gaming by following the link below. Moza Racing, quality direct drive hardware that doesn't break the bank, now including flight sim gear. Check out Moza today from the link in the description. I like Moza. I drive Moza. They're nice. They're cool. Pimax. Pimax delivers class-leading clarity and resolution with its current range of VR headsets. Learn more about how you can get a discount today following the link below. And as always, a special thank you to Motorsport UK for selecting us as a recommended esports community. And thank you to all of our partners for their continued support. Anyways, back to mayonnaise. I'm kidding. We're not going back to mayonnaise. We're going back to racing as we see Hugo Duby get some air for probably like the 40th time in the race. Everybody maximizing, aerodynamic efficiency, perhaps more than traction, as the loose rear. Can we rename this to the loose ends series? I mean, Sylvia series or TCX Cup sounds cool, but like, can we call it the loose ends series? Sponsored by Duke's Mayonnaise, perhaps? Do you need your end to be a little bit more loose? Try rubbing mayonnaise on your rear axle. And now, Joe Dauber continuing his charge up the field, has now set his sights on the podium position. And I wonder, rather curiously, as these guys are both teammates at Rebound Racing, whether there's going to be a huge fight, maybe, or if Roscam's just going to say, hey, maybe we'll let you through. But I bet Roscam's seeing that penalty and being like, well, here's the thing, guy. You have a penalty. I'm not going to give you this one. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of wheel-to-wheel. I'm sure Will Stevenson in the background is seeing this ahead and being like, this could end up turning back my way if they fight hard enough. But yeah, definitely Roscam not gonna give it up, which is good. I do appreciate when friends go racing. It's absolutely my favorite thing to do when I'm in a Discord call with somebody and I get to go wheel to wheel with them, because then you get to shout at each other and be like, hey, I'm taking the inside, and then you don't, and you just lie, and it's great. But Joe Dauber is actually looking to, he was thinking about taking the inside for a second, but actually he did the thing. He got in the mirrors of T-Bit Roscam and forced that critical mistake. Roscam just going a bit wide, making it a bit easy for Joe Dauber. It was a good fight. It was a good overtake. I mean, listen, you can earn an overtake by pace, or you can earn an overtake by not making mistakes. Both are valid. Both count. And I think now Roscam is gonna watch Dauber ahead and hopefully maybe try to copy his lines, maintain a toe, and keep within those 10 seconds, because they do have to pit. But if he's within 10 seconds by the end of this race, it's always, I mean, that's a podium position. That 10-second will be served in the stop. So obviously, it will be determined on circuit, as we all would hope it is. Oh no. Ash has just let me know that it appears that I have commentator's cursed Matt Malcolm. He's got a bashed front end. I think he did the full. Well, it was, as I said at the beginning. Isn't the commentator's curse if he full throttles into a wall? Because I mean, I told him to do it rather than anything else. As we're gonna see, this might be the cause here. Let's see. I'm getting a little. That looked entirely. Yeah, that seemed a bit normal, a bit good there. I think we're determining that it might be a self-inflicted wound by Matt Malcolm. I mean, my thought was I'm not 100% sure where it might have happened. I mean, I think it might have been perhaps a spin, maybe going a bit too deep and meeting El Barriar. Not something that you want to see, but maybe he has already taken his pit stop though, and has decent pace. So I guess I would assume if the damage isn't too much, he can take his car and gain a couple more positions for sure. I mean, he's certainly within range of Foxhall, maybe Whittle, in terms of after the stop. And I don't know the pit lane delta, but we shall soon see, as Mr. Tom Shipson actually is deciding he's going to be the next person to have a look on Will Stevenson. Stevenson definitely having the pace in qualifying and in the early stage of the race, but I think at this point, whether there's a bit of damage perhaps from the tap from Joe Dauber, or it's just maybe you're starting to run a little bit low on focus, you're starting to make those little itty-bitty mistakes, because after all, these guys have been driving for 40 minutes flat out around a pretty tricky circuit in some extremely tricky cars to drive. So I would fully understand. But to be fair, Tom Shipston, if you didn't know, he does get an extra 30 horsepower with that livery. It's sort of an accepted cheat, because as actually Shipston decides we're going to box to overtake as he dives into the pit lane. Getting ready, as now I have the pit deltas in front of me. It appears, if I can find the numbers, that it is about, actually I think Mr. Baby's going to take a look for me because I'm a bit dumb. But Tom Shipson pulling into his box. We're hearing pit stops. So far, the quickest has been around 50 seconds. So that will be, let's say that's our assumed delta. I mean, it does depend on how much fuel these guys are taking. And the later pit stops will be quicker because, after all, they're going to be taking less fuel. Nobody should be taking tires. I highly doubt that. But now it's going to be, we're gonna see now how the undercut ends up looking between Shipston and Stevenson by the time that he pits. I assume we're gonna get our final 7 pit stops in the next probably 10 minutes. I think maybe Andy Boardman and Nico Kumpu are gonna leave it till the second to last lap. They did that last week. They left it as long as they needed to. Actually, there was a bit of a race for the final podium spot at Misano as well, and it doesn't entirely look like we're going to be having any big winners for pit strategy today. Granted, these cars are perfectly happy, not tooling around, but pushing around these circuits for that hour length. As now we're seeing Stevenson electing to take his pit stop now, where it's gonna be down to Shipston's pace as he's come out of the box. It's gonna be down to whether he was able to put in a quick lap. The undercut is not necessarily gonna give a whole lot of advantage. In fact, the overcut might be preferred simply because you're taking less and less fuel, but Shipston did have the fastest stop. It was a 48-second. As we now see, I do in fact see Stevenson. He has exited pit lane. I think Shipston might actually have that all wrapped up, but the pit lane does pit out onto circuit. Yep, no, he is already through turn 2, which is where that pit lane dumps cars out. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, I think there's your answer. For the 6 of you that haven't stopped yet, think about an undercut. I mean, not many of them are really within touching distance of each other, but maybe Ross can consider an undercut. You're only 2 seconds behind your teammate. I mean, he's got that penalty as well. Maybe get going for it as Pimlott had already taken. I think he might have been one of the people that pitted at lap 1. Is now the next car to challenge Will Stevenson here. I think Stevenson, I always personally enjoy races where I have to, drive against a lot of people, but I wonder if he's maybe just getting a little bit worn out of cars coming up behind him. It's just like, hey, give me like a handful of laps. Maybe he has a bit of trauma from the Dauber incident, as we're gonna call it. And just hoping coming out of pit lane, get those tire temperatures back up. Not that you'd lose a whole lot sitting still, but get the car fired back up, get stuck back in, and start hitting your marks. But it seems that Pimlott actually electing to take a little bit narrower lines through that chicane. On that lap, at least, didn't quite have the pace to close up. But if we've learned anything for the last 45 minutes, cars have done pretty well sticking behind the other one. I mean, getting towed around. You can always follow your, if you know the car ahead of you might have a little bit more pace, you can follow their lines. There's nothing that makes a racing driver quicker than a car ahead of them that they can overtake. I mean, I personally, I can go about a second a lap quicker if I got somebody in front. If I'm by myself, I'm hopeless. But put another car in front of me, I sniff a position, just get the power down. I mean, the gap's still sort of stabilizing around that half-second mark. believe that Stevenson just got a lot of air. I've sort of noticed that those sparks have kicked up as drivers elect to do that. But definitely looking a bit clean. No real winner so far in terms of lap time. I mean, it seems like Stevenson maybe this last lap has sort of pulled out more of a gap. I think that is, certainly what's happening. I mean, the timing screen just updated in order to prove my theory about a second back, as we're now on board with Mike Redford, who appears to just be in the world famous John Dalton zone, known for having no one in front of you really and no one behind you. Considered a practice session, just keep it going, keep it round. But Mike Redford, he had the pit lane start, which we're not 100% sure why that happened. I'm hoping we'll get an answer post race. I think maybe a hardware issue, maybe having to jump up to take care of something real quick. But I mean, it's certainly a good recovery. I mean, pit lane start, maybe ended up, he's maybe 15 seconds behind the next car ahead of him at the beginning of lap 1, and P11 is never anything to scoff at. We're going to come back and check in on the Pimlott Stevenson fight. It's about all we really got going on track so far. I think Pimlott right now, he's got to limit mistakes. Not that he's making it, but you got to make no mistakes, and you just sort of got to make yourself a bit known. Maybe put in one good lap. Get that delta to go more in your way, and it might make Stevenson look behind. But I will say about Will Stevenson, if I've learned anything today watching him, he's pretty much unfazed by cars behind him. I mean, he had Joe Dauber in his mirrors for possibly going on 10 laps, constantly pushing, constantly trying to make a bit of move, trying to outbrake him, go around the outside, try to make every which way move. But Will Stevenson absolutely unflinched, entirely unfazed. I sure am glad that I filled up a lot of water bottles today, because boy, I'm emptying them. We're now on board with Peter Varga, who seems to be having a look. See at Matt Malcolm. Matt just carrying whatever damage he inflicted mid race, and hoping, I think at this point, just to bring it home, as we're truly now in the closing stages, 10 minutes remaining. I do think our top 6, they're gonna leave it till the final lap. They're gonna leave it till that pit window is just about closed. A drive-through now for Will Stevenson. I would assume that that's an automated ping for track limits. That was a lot of air by Peter Varga. I think he just got sent into the gravel for just a little bit, as Will Stevenson is electing to take a pretty unique line through turn 10. That is not something I would really expect to see. There's certainly no mistake that was made there. Maybe just trying to let Pimlott through without any issues, as he's careening into the pits, hopefully actually slowing that car down in time. I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% sure if he did, and if he does, that's just another penalty. And talk about rubbing salt in the wound if that is what happens. But I'm a bit surprised that we've only actually seen one DT so far this race, because Circuit Zolder, I mean, they can be pretty generous on the inside of chicanes, but it's so hard to... Oh, there it is, the salt in the wound. And that's the end of Will Stevenson's race. Just, 1 kilometer too fast can be all the difference between, you taking your DT and you getting effectively an extra pit stop. And at that point, I mean, I'm sure there was, a couple positions that could have been saved, maybe finished, P15 after the stop and go 30. But I mean, it's heartbreak for a driver to have to deal with that. And Will, I feel for you, man. I've made that mistake before. Actually, one of the some league races that I've done in ACC, I've made that exact same mistake, and we enjoyed watching you fight. You were probably the entertainment of the evening, quite frankly, in terms of your defenses. Is now a little bit of extra entertainment. We got Peter Varga versus Matt Malcolm. Matt Malcolm just carrying the lump of damage on the nose of that BMW. Varga looking not impatient, but definitely making himself known in the mirrors of Matt Malcolm. It's going to be who, if Matt can make no mistakes here, that's what it's all about. Because ultimately, he could be the quickest driver in the world, and I like to believe that he could be. But with the amount of damage that is almost certainly in the front end of that car, just in straight line, it's already at a huge disadvantage. So it's all about minimizing your mistakes and hoping that Peter Varga makes maybe drive up the middle of the road into corner entries. If he gets a little bit close, I mean, Varga definitely trying to maximize the amount of speed he can carry, and just the difference in mid-corner pace between Malcolm and Varga is extremely apparent. Malcolm getting a little bit of a wiggle on the exit, but hopefully making enough of an exit to stay ahead as he survives another corner as they as the exit turn 5. They're going to start heading up the hill through turn 6. Varga just really staying in those mirrors. I think perhaps doing a bit of a disservice to his own pace by doing that, taking a little bit of, you maybe not using all the track, maybe I think being perhaps a bit impatient behind. I mean, the car ahead, or you maybe it's entirely possible he has no idea that Malcolm's car is damaged. It just assumes he's slower. But if I were to know that the car ahead of me is damaged, I would, take my time and do it diligently, and just know that the overtake's going to come by me not making mistakes and just using the pace of the car rather than the pace of the driver to get that move done. Matt Malcolm survives another lap. We're coming down, 5 minutes remaining. We've actually only seen 2 retirements so far in this race. One we just witnessed from Will Stevenson, and the second is in complete mystery. I will be honest. It happened at some point early enough in the race, and I'm sure we'll find out perhaps at some point. But not a super high attrition rate. Wasn't hoping for one, but perhaps was expecting it. I think that's maybe the equal amount of that's big air from Matt Malcolm. It was, I think, an equal amount of cars retiring from as Mazzano last week. Matt Malcolm is I mean, you really wouldn't know his car is damaged, at least through these low speeds. Granted, I mean, low speeds in these cars is pretty certain it's entirely the mechanical grip of the tire rather than the actual aero on the car. But he's certainly driving it pretty well, as now Andy Boardman elects, this is it. This is pit stop time, as he's entering the box with about a 6.5 second gap on Nico Kumpu. Nico Kumpu decides we're just going to box right behind. Joe Dauber makes it 3 for 3 on pits. T-Wood Roskam actually doesn't hit the pits, I don't believe. Sorry, Joe Dauber doesn't hit the box. That was Nico Kumpu. Sorry, I'm just a bit blind. We're going to assume, yep, Joe Dauber does decide to take his stop. And you know, T-Bit Roscam, I think at this point, is not taking his stop and electing to go one more longer. I mean, hey, you can just maybe get the lead now and hope that post pit stop, because Dauber does have that 10-second penalty, he can maybe hold that lead coming out and secure the podium. As I'm not. Well, he's the very end of. He's got, I think, the very last pit stall. I thought he had already finished his stop and thought that would have been quite amazing. But for Mike Redford, he's actually now after pit stops all the way up in P8, but he's not quite done with it yet. Hugo Duby keeping him honest in the closing stages. Duby, one of the other drivers who's carrying quite a bit of damage. Was a bit forced off track. Here comes Joe Dauber, re-entering the circuit, getting rid of his penalty. I just realized T-Bit Roscam is now in P2. I mean, he does have to take his pit stop, so obviously that's not an on-track position. But I mean, that's ought to feel pretty good as Joe Dauber actually has now dropped into P5, P6. Sorry, that pit stop, that 10-second just strangling his track position. I mean, I thought he would have been reasonably clear as Les Stevenson goes and says thank you very much. I will take that. The Roker Poker just saying, hey, here we go. We have P4. I mean, there's actually quite a bit of chance that we might get P5 out from T-Bit Roscam as the leaders are beginning what should be the second, sorry, not the second to last lap. I think we got 2 more laps remaining after this one. Roscam just trundling down pit lane. We'll see if Stevenson ends up coming by. He absolutely certainly will end up actually taking that. Les Stevenson, the Roker Poker, with the strategy call. I think I'm now fairly certainly determined that an earlier box is definitely the better way to go. You'd think the later I stop, the less fuel I have to take. The slower, or the less fuel I have to take, the quicker my pit stop. But I think it's seeming that the extra fuel weight towards at the beginning of the race is maybe taking a bit more life out of the tire and taking a bit more total lap time. And that's Les Stevenson. If he keeps it together for the next couple of laps, he'll end up on the podium. Is now Shipston and Roscam. Roscam thinking to himself, man, I think we got the strategy a bit wrong. Is now dropped into P5 just ahead of Joe Dauber. We got Keith Whittle getting into our second, possibly final drive-through of the day, as Andy Boardman begins the final lap in round 3 of the Sylvia series. And as a reminder, if you enjoy what we're doing today, please, like the stream, follow us here at RCI TV, and if you're interested in joining any of the racing events for maybe a one-off showing, join an entire series, head over to rci.com for information about current and upcoming events. Hugo Duby still maybe hoping to line up a move on Richard Whittle. Whittle not making any obvious mistakes, not making any obvious errors in order to give up this P9. But I think these two are going to be fighting like lions all the way to the checker. Hugo Duby a little bit better on the brakes, but on corner exit, which for turn 9 all the way down to turn 11 really is what matters, ends up losing a bit in a straight line. We'll see. Oh, still looking surprisingly a bit better on the brakes, given the amount of supposed front end damage that it looks like that car has, and I don't think we're quite done yet. Matt Malcolm still managing to survive the onslaught of Peter Varga. It's now just down to one lap to determine who's going to complete it. As we're getting ready, Andy Boardman getting ready to cross the line. Andy Boardman wins round 3, making it 3 for 3 in the Sylvia series. Nico Kumpu crossing the line, P2, kept Boardman pretty honest this time around. 5 seconds between the two of them. Maybe round 4 will be Kumpu's. He's going to take the top step and bring it home in victory lane. Is he going with Les Stevenson, the Roker Poker, doing an absolute stellar job. Had a fairly quiet race, but did everything he needed to do, got the strategy just right. Round the final corner, getting ready to cross the line. Your final step on the podium, Les Stevenson, P3. As now we're getting Tom Shipston getting ready to cross the line. Actually, a flurry of drivers. Shipston, Roskam, Dauber, all three crossing line. P4, P5, P6. Neil Pimlott getting ready to cross the line in P7. Does it there. Mike Redford next to cross the line. All he has to do is just squeeze it on through the final chicane at turn 11. Got Whittle in the battle. Hugo Doobie, the battler, behind getting ready. I think it seems like Whittle may have that done. Mike Redford crossing the line in 8th, doing the old spin to win across the line, and actually catches a pretty solid drift. Richard Whittle stays ahead of Hugo Doobie as Matt Malcolm and Peter Varga cross the line. That will do it. Definitely, it seemed like there's a bit of a theme here that last lap, we have a couple of folks that there's a couple battles still going on right till the end. I mean, we had, I think, 2 last week. We have 2 this week, and who knows, maybe we'll have a couple to go. Here's your finishing order for round 3. Andy Boardman, P1. Nico Kumpu, P2. Les Stevenson, P3. Shipston, Roskam, Dauber, Pimlott, Redford, Whittle, and Doobie rounding out the top 10. Matt Malcolm staying just ahead, doing just enough with the damaged car to stay ahead of Peter Varga in P12. Foxhole, Meerman, Faquito, Whittle, Stevenson, and Wojtek rounding out all 18 drivers. As now we have ourselves Mr. Andy Boardman getting ready for in the interview box. Andy Boardman, that was a solid performance from you. I mean, that's 3 for 3, man. But Nico Kumpo keeping you, he kept it a little bit closer than perhaps some of the other races. I mean, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, 3 for 3. Yeah, yeah, it's going well. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be going this well, to be honest. But yeah, the car seems to suit my driving style, I think. Yeah, Nico nearly had me on lap 1. I went a bit too deep into turn 2, and that gave him the run on me. But yeah, fortunately, I managed to just get in front, going through turn 3, and yeah, just eke out a little bit of a lead. But it's tricky, this track, because even if you've got a 10-second lead, if you get a bad landing on the, the chicane, the bunny hop chicane, I call it, because the car takes off. If you get a bad landing there, you can spin and you can lose 10 seconds, and it's happened to me in the past. So yeah, I was constantly reminding myself of that going through that chicane each lap.
Yeah, it was definitely looking like I was making lots of jokes during the broadcast about you guys. I wonder if you set up your car for midair stability rather than perhaps grip on the ground. I wonder though, it's seeming like a theme that the earlier stoppers in the race seem to end up gaining a bit more time towards the end of the checker. I wonder, are you maybe considering the earlier pit stop strategy, or are you just going to keep banging out the quick laps and stopping at the end?
I think if I was in an incident or something on the first lap, then I might then pit first lap or something like that. But yeah, if you're near the front, there's not much point because you're going to pit and then you're kind of going to come out and you're going to catch up to traffic. So yeah, if you're leading with the pit window as wide as it is, you're better off just leaving it until near the end when you're leading really. Or that's what I think anyway.
Well, I mean, it's hard to argue with the result. I mean, granted, it's gone this well so far. I mean, congrats on the 3 for 3. Looking forward to see what you can do next week. Anybody you want to shout out?
A big shout out to you guys, all the fellow racers for joining, and a shout out to the championship's namesake, Sylvia. I hope they get feeling better soon.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you having you in the box. Congrats again on P1.
Thank you.
And now we have Mr. Peter Varga in the box. Peter, good solid race, a good a real nail biter of a fight at the end there. How are you feeling?
Good but bad.
Good
I don't know
but
if you.
bad.
Yeah, the speed was good. Which is very contrasting to the last season of M2 around Zolder, which was when my season basically came absolutely undone last season. But this time around, the car felt better. I felt much better. Everything was actually is much more pleasant this season. Just a small mistake that just crept in while trying to scare your opponent, and small mistakes have big consequences.
Yeah, we saw that on the broadcast. It definitely looked like you were
no.
trying to you were trying to pick your line, and I was mentioning, I mean, because you were going right left. It's tough to slow a car down when you're doing that. I mean, that's split-second decision, and
Yeah,
fortunately, didn't seem too catastrophic.
To be fair, it was in the end I managed to be P11, which I'm somewhat happy about. Although I think I had pace to be much higher. But yeah, I just wanted to show the nose down the inside, and scare a little bit. But I don't know if Hugo broke a bit earlier than normal. Maybe I also broke a bit later than normal, and two and two goes together, and all of a sudden it's cars where cars should not be.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was some good. There was some good solid racing all around. I do have to ask, did you know that Matt Malcolm's car was super damaged ahead of you, or were you just sort of assuming you had greater pace?
I had absolutely no idea. I know we had a small bump at the start. Sorry, Matt, I didn't want to send you wide. And I didn't know. I was thinking that at the end he just kind of lost pace. I don't know where the damage came from, though.
I gotta say, I don't know either. Matt, I see you just unmuted yourself. Would you like to tell us what happened? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, I just want to interject. It was the incident you had with, I think it was Doobie at the first chicane. You spun her off, and I couldn't stop in time to smack into the side of her.
Oh, that's right. You were. Yeah, we did. Okay, I completely missed that. I saw the contact, but I completely missed that you were the one who did it. But yeah, I was just asking because, like, naturally I could see, and we could see in the box that he had the damage, and the way you were driving, I was like, I wonder if you know that Malk actually has that much damage. But anyways, it was a great fight to the end. It was a solid drive from you. I'm hoping, you thinking maybe top 10 next week, maybe a podium.
What kind of crack are you smoking that I can get a podium?
The good kind. The good kind. No, I'll spur everyone on to get a podium. I mean,
hey, top 10 at this point, I would say it's mandatory. I really have a good pace this season, so I think it's possible. Podium, maybe if half of the top 5 decide to disconnect next event. Yeah, that is possible. Those guys are like good second a lap faster than me, so that would have to be a divine intervention. But you never know.
absolutely.
Something can happen. But I'm definitely eyeing a strong top 10 finish for the next 2 races and hopefully also the season.
Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for joining us in the box. Before you go, any shout outs for us?
Shout out to the Leuven Rock Cafe. They are proudly on the side of the car, even though the the bar does not know. But my friend is a barman there, so shout out, lads.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Varga, for joining us. See you next week.
Bye.
And ladies and gentlemen, that'll do us for this week. That'll do us for round 3 of the RCI Sylvia series. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. I apologize if I made your ears bleed from my constant chatter, but hopefully I did all right. Hopefully you enjoyed. As always, please follow the stream. Please like the stream. Come check us out on rci.com in case you want to race. Shout out to our channel partners. As always, Ready Set Sim, Coach Dave Delta, Green Man Gaming, Moser Racing, Pimax, and of course Motorsport UK. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And one final thing, ooh.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Feel the rush, see the goal. Every second, take control. The world blurs, time won't wait. We rise, we fight, we accelerate.